Well, good morning, guys. Once again, it is I, the chairman, with another review of physical media. And don't have a whole lot today to go over, but what I did get in, actually, I think I got this in Saturday, just after I did my last one, was Blind Guardian Twilight Orchestra, Legacy of the Dark Lands. I believe their latest double album. And to note, this is actually not Blind Guardian with the Twilight Orchestra. It is actually the Blind Guardian Twilight Orchestra. This is a fully orchestral album. Their first fully orchestral album in that all the music is performed by an orchestra. It is, I guess you can call it a symphonic album, and it is a concept album. In fact, it is not even, I wouldn't even say it's a concept album. It is actually a orchestrally and lyrically told story. And what this story is a sequel to the book The Dark Lands, or in German, Die Dunkle Lande, by Marcus Heitz. And I actually, on a comment that Dieter left on my previous video, I actually mentioned to him that I got this album and I'm going to do a review, and I asked him if he was familiar with Marcus Heitz, and Dieter said no. Then I told him, well, it looks like he lives near you. He lives in the county of Saar. I believe the county is called Saar because, and then I told him that, and then Dieter said, oh yeah, I think I may have read about him in the newspaper. So unfortunately, Dieter is not familiar with the works of Herr Heitz, but this looks like a pretty interesting album. The whole idea is like a kind of a historical fantasy novel that is set during the 30 Years' War in Germany between 1618 and 1648, and that's the back. And as you can see, it's broken up into almost like chapters with stories, and what happens is that in between the music, you have voice actors actually speaking lines of dialogue, and it gets pretty complicated. And so this is kind of a more the fold out, the gatefold is a more blown out version of this cover art. And so then what you get is that you then get a full-size lyric sheet, and you got all the lyrics. You got another picture here, and then that's the second picture here. And I guess the thing is that it really is a sequel to the book, to the first book, because I kind of went and looked it up, and they bring back a lot of the characters from the first book. I mean, I didn't obviously read the book, but I just looked up the synopsis on Amazon. And so yeah, these guys went to town, creating a full-scale sequel, like a whole story to additional story to the book, the Dark Lands. And I guess part of the thing is that it would kind of make more sense if I was familiar with the original story, and then I understand, kind of what they were doing leading off from that. So it was a little kind of hard to get into, in the sense that I didn't really get what they were talking about and what was going on in the actual dialogue that they were laying out. They were progressing a story, and so I just listened to the music, and I mean, it was pretty good, but it definitely wasn't as memorable as their previous works, in the sense of like really catching you and really pulling you into the music. Definitely not like a Night of the Opera, and even to some extent not as good as their previous album, Beyond the Red Mirror, which is also a bit of a concept album as well. But this one, I think, definitely, while not as good as A Night at the Opera. Gets pretty close. And actually, I don't have a couple of their albums in between this one and A Twist in the Myth, which I think came out in like 2006, mid 2000s sometime. So there's a few that I'm missing that I haven't listened to, but this one does sound pretty good. Like I said, not as good as A Night at the Opera. So in terms of Legacy of Darklands, I have to say that it's obviously very impressive that they were able to pull off such an ambitious project of actually writing orchestral music, and not just using as a backing instrumentation for the main rock instruments of the guitar and the drums. But they've been veering towards utilizing a lot of different instrumentation, not just the standard guitar and drums, for a long time now. So even before A Night at the Opera, they've been experimenting with that kind of stuff, and this is probably the culmination of their interest in going like full orchestral. And was it successful? I say it probably is. Only problem being is that this is a kind of one of those albums where it'd be hard to do it as a live show, night in, night out. I mean, you got to pull a whole orchestra around. I mean, that costs a lot of money. You know, they got to be paid, they got to be fed, they got to be housed. So, is it like pretentious? I don't ever want to use that word with power metal, because I think power metal to some extent has always been pretentious. It's just in the nature to kind of go all out, to go to 11. That's kind of why Spinal Tap had the Stonehenge thing, because every band that wants to go to 11, they risk having a Stonehenge moment where their ambitions become pretensions, and they just go way overboard, and then people just realize, wow, this didn't work, right? You guys should have stuck to your guns and stayed in your lane. But I don't think it's the case with Blind Guardian. I mean, maybe we'll see. I mean, we'll see what their next effort is like. If it's kind of going down the Stonehenge route, then maybe they should have stuck with trying to maintain a blend of power metal and the orchestral sound. But who knows? We'll see. But other than that, yeah, I didn't get anything new in. After I finished watching the final countdown and a couple of other films, I did finish watching George A. Romero's Day of the Dead, and I got to say that while I respect George Romero and his contributions to horror with the Dead franchise, I got to say that this is definitely one that you can skip. And to some extent, it's kind of a thing that I've noticed with the zombie films and the Romero Dead franchise, is because each film is pretty standalone. There's no connection between Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and its subsequent follow-ups. That they don't have a continuity to them. There's no like through line connecting each film, so that you must watch each one. And so therefore, if there is one to skip, I mean, this one is pretty skippable. Each of them is each film focuses on a very small part of the overall zombie crisis, apocalypse thing that's going on. There's really no explanation as to what happened, by intention, of course. I mean, Romero's not going to go into like what's going on. I mean, he does try to sprinkle in some things with like the news reports, but we get a very small picture of what's going on. We don't ever get the big picture. We don't ever know like what governments are doing or what the world is doing. It's always focused on just the characters in front of us and how they're dealing with it. So this is kind of the same thing where you got where you have a couple scientists hold up with the military in some kind of underground base, and the whole idea is that they're just trying to get out. And like the military is being the military, they're being dicks. They don't want the scientists to try to research the zombies to try to figure things out. About the only thing that you really get is that the zombies do seem to have some memory of their past living lives, that There's one zombie who learns how to use a gun, who remembers that he was a soldier before. But I mean, yeah, there's some great effects in it, but definitely skippable. So I picked this up because I also got Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Kind of a little watched up in terms of the Dead film. So I'll circle back around and watch Dawn of the Dead, the Snyder Dawn of the Dead. I have not watched Army of the Dead because my Netflix subscription ran out a few days earlier, and what I've been doing is that I'm going to alternate months in terms of my Netflix subscription, because I don't watch a lot of Netflix to begin with. It's expensive, so I'm just going to go month to month. Kind of the same thing as what I'm doing, what I'm going to do with HBO Max, because again, with HBO Max, there's not a lot. I don't. The only streaming that I'm keeping full time is Amazon Prime, obviously, and Disney Plus. So, in terms of stuff I'm waiting for, or new stuff I picked up, I already have about 8 pre-orders waiting. So I kind of don't want to add to that. What I did recently add was I added Prophecy from who did I order that from? Diabolic, I believe. But that's the new one from Eureka. And then I also, based on the review that was just posted in the Digital Bits, there was a relatively unknown film called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot. It's kind of a modern take on the old American myth story, and it stars Sam Elliott and Aidan Turner. And Sam Elliott is the older version of the character, and Aidan Turner is the younger version. And what's really cool about this film is that the director, whose name I don't even remember anymore, he actually pulled in a bunch of old, well, not a bunch, a few old legendary special effects experts like Richard Yursich and Douglas Trumbull to contribute to the production of the film. And Douglas Trumbull actually filmed a World War II era scene with planes using models. And the whole idea was that he was trying to show that you could still do really good model photography in this day and age without CGI. So I'm really looking forward to that. And that's in 4K. But the kicker is that it's from Germany. The 4K is a German disc. And so I went to Amazon Germany, Amazon.de, and ordered that. And because of the way that shipping was, I said, crap, I've been looking to get the Showgirls 4K. So I picked that up. And so overall, you add it together, it was like $75 US. So to buy the Amazon US had the Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot here, but it was for $45. So you add it together, it would have been less. I'm paying less from Amazon Germany, even with the shipping included. So and on top of that, I'm getting the Showgirl, so they're kind of splitting the shipping. So I figure I'm making out even ordering from Amazon Germany. So there are some options, especially because now it seems like Germany's putting out a lot of really cool physical media through through Turbine and through various other labels. I mean, if you guys have been watching Let's Get Physical Media, obviously Rob's been salivating over some of the stuff that Dieter's been getting, and yeah, I don't know what's going on with Germany, but they really are putting out some good stuff. So I'm going to keep my eye out more on it, on new stuff coming out. I mean, obviously not going to get everything because they have a lot of stuff that's also out here, but just they, for whatever reason, yeah, they just put out stuff that is not being put out here or by any of the English shops. So yeah, just keep your eye out. But anyway, I just want to let you know about that. And yep, I'll talk to you later. And hopefully by next week, I'll get Django in from Arrow. So, yep, I'll let you know about that. Thanks. See you.